Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Box Score Network. I'm Ben Parker, joined by Simon Short. We have something very special for you tonight. If you're clicking on this, you probably already saw it's the Arch Manning Show, the Arch Manning Sweepstakes, the Where Might Arch Go If He Entered the 2026 NFL Draft show. Okay, so we do a lot of serious stuff on this network. We might mention it later, but this is a fun show tonight. This is playing with realism. We're pushing the limits of fantasy a little bit. We're gonna have real names, real situations, but it's a fun show. You know, the whole Arch thing is already crazy. It's already blown out of proportion. It's already way bigger than Arch himself yet is. But we're gonna play with it tonight. Nobody else I'd rather do it with than Simon Short, who is pretty much the de facto president of Box Score Network.
Stop it.
Several of us do shows and produce content, but behind the scenes, if something's getting done, it's Simon. Simon, how you doing tonight, man?
Well, Ben, now I feel like I'm being taken aback here because now I'm uncomfortable. I don't do well with praise. I do appreciate it, but I think it's just because I'm the most annoying person here, and it has nothing to do with any actual ability or anything else. But I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Happy to be here for this wacky show. You gave me some context for how this is gonna go. I tried not to over prepare. So I'm ready, man. This will be good. I'm just starting to think about some draft stuff for next year, so this will be a good, really first step into it for me right now.
Listen, on a show on a network, me and Robertson and a couple of other people we won't mention. I'm not sure they're the most annoying, man. I mean, several of us are in the running for this.
I don't know, man. There's a lot of crickets in the Slack when my name comes around.
All right, if you're watching our screen here, which is cluttered with all kinds of stuff, but you can also see several of our shows as well. We've got the soccer show, in the flat, college football. We've got basketball. We've got heavy NFL on these shows. We've got some movie stuff here on the Simon and Friends podcast as well. The baseball stuff comes out on Tricky Takes as well. It's probably what 70% NFL on this network, maybe 80%.
Yeah,
I think so.
once the season starts, it'll feel like 80-90%. But here in the summer, we're
Right.
all stretching our legs. We're enjoying the summer
Yeah.
vacation. So there was a little hoops talk early in the summer, ton of baseball over on Tricky Takes because CONCACAF is hot and heavy right now with the Club World Cup and Gold Cup and all sorts of things. But training camp is around the corner, Ben, so we're starting to ramp up for the NFL season. So Box Score Network will have every angle of the NFL season covered for you guys moving forward pretty much from here on out.
Yeah, and listen, we do stretch out like most podcasts. We stretch out for a lot of different things during the summer because it does tend to be the dead time for the NFL, and that's part of the reason for the art stuff here. But I'm not doing the art stuff because I'm bored. I'm doing the art stuff because it's really fun and interesting. It involves a lot of different names and teams and possibilities. Maybe not in 26, maybe in 27, but still, it's crazy. It's fun. Here we are. You ready to do this, man? Let's talk some
I'm
Arch
ready.
Manning football here. Okay.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
The Manning Stakes. What I did here, I started off with the five teams that have the most likely Vegas odds to have the worst records in the NFL this year. Okay. They may not. You know, the Giants, the Jets, the Saints, the Browns, the Panthers all have a very good chance of having a bad record this year. So that's where we started at. Again, that won't be the five worst teams in the NFL. But we started there, and then we are going to start eliminating some teams right off the bat. And then we're going to start bringing in some new teams that aren't even on this fiver list. Okay. So let's just go ahead and eliminate a couple teams right off the bat. I called it Dysfunction Junction. And I'm sorry, man. The Jets, the Browns, not a consideration, right? There's no way. Again, the way I want to frame this tonight is Simon, if you were the consigliere for the Manning family, and you were trying to tell Arch whether or not to come out for the 26th draft. I'm sure if the Browns and the Jets are holding the number one ticket in the 26th draft, you're advising Arch to just go back to school for another year, correct?
Are we sure about the Jets? Are we sure
Yes,
about the
I am.
Jets? I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm liking what Aaron Glenn, and I believe it's Darren Moogie, new general manager, new head coach, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm kind of liking the way they're at least operating, manning the ship now, no pun intended. Now, obviously, the ownership situation is where things get a little bit crazy, but this team has been underperforming for the last 3 seasons, and yet Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner just got huge, huge extensions off their rookie contract. Like as soon as they were available, 3 years into their career, like and there's no Dallas Cowboysing this where it's like we have an all-pro player and we're just gonna wait to pay him until we absolutely have to pay him more than anybody else. No, they're getting out in front of this. They're moving. They're getting guys out of there that need to be out of there. They're bringing keeping guys around that need to be kept around. I'd be interested depending on how this season shakes out. We are projecting we like their offensive line a little bit. Maybe this defense gets back on track. I'm not totally sure. Now the Mannings. I would say maybe not the New York market, but obviously Eli went to the Giants, so I don't know, man. I don't know. I might think about the Jets. I might think about the Jets, but yes, Cleveland, absolutely. We're getting out of there.
All right. So Cleveland, sorry, Cleveland, we're just not going to
Just
get you
no
there.
shot.
Uh, I'm with you on the personnel in New York. So the coach is fine. The general manager looks. I mean, it's early, right? The general manager looks fine. But the dysfunction that has been on the Jets for a long time, we're into decades now, and for Woody Johnson to have been a part of that, and he's still there, I'm just not sure the Mannings are very gonna be very interested in this. They've got other options. They can always go back to school. I'm just not sure that they're going to be interested in the Jets.
Let me throw one other thing out at you. Let's say the Jets have a well, I mean, I say good season, but they wouldn't be drafting up here if they have a good season. But let's suspend a little bit of reality here.
Right.
Let's say
That's
they at
fine.
least respectable enough that a guy like Tanner Engstrand become their offensive coordinator, the new offense coordinator. Let's say he becomes a head coach somewhere else in 2026. Scott Turner is their current passing game coordinator. That's a long time NFL family name right there. You talk about son of Norv Turner, who coached for decades in the NFL, right? Um,
Yes.
I don't know if there's maybe a Manning Turner where that's an extra layer of, yeah, you know what, Turner, if you're with a Turner, and we like what Aaron Glenn's doing, we like what Moogie's doing, maybe the offense seems viable, a decent offensive line. I wouldn't actually completely rule out the Jets based on the personnel hires, some of the names that are involved with the franchise. Um, but we'd have to see a little bit of normalcy this year. But again, Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner getting those extensions was pretty big for me.
Fair enough. And that is all part of the discussion, right? Because some people say, hey, he'll go where he gets drafted. Well, on January 24th, that's the deadline for any player that's in the college football playoff to decide if they're going to be in the draft or not. That's usually the point by which a lot of teams have hired their new coaches and GMs,
Yep.
but it's not necessarily the point by which a lot of other things have been established. So
Hmm.
if he doesn't like what he sees, him and his dad or him and whoever's advising him, he can be like, the heck with it. I'm going to go back to college and make, $6 more million this year and play for Texas again. So
Yep.
he's got that option. And that's
Oh
that's
yeah.
the big thing that's here at play. And this is interesting. Does the history of dysfunction with the Jets and the current owner be a bigger factor than what looks like a decent personnel setup so far, along with the hey, we're keeping some of our big players? We'll see. Time will tell. That's an interesting discussion. Let's move on here. We'll try to keep it moving here a little bit tonight. What I did next year, and again, part of the reason for framing the conversation this way is if Arch has a bad year, if he gets injured in week 3, or if he just doesn't look very good, he's not going to hit the 26th draft, right? There's already plenty of
Hmm.
quarterbacks looks like going to be in the 26th draft, and everybody's just going to say, hey, go stay another year. So when I projected these numbers for Arch for 2025, which is right here, right? These are projected numbers. I didn't put him so low that nobody would advise him to come out. I also didn't give him statistics enough for a traditional Heisman season.
Right.
Okay. And just for comparison's sake, man, you look at what some of these guys did. The 23 Heisman, Jaden Daniels, he had 3,800 passing yards with 1,100 rush yards. That's pushing 5,000 total yards. You see the TD to interception ratio, 40-4. That's a typical Heisman season right there. 40-4 ratio. Same thing for Caleb Williams. He ends up with like 4,800 total yards in 22. He's got that 42-5 TD to interception ratio. Joe Burrow had the freaking mother of all seasons with 5,671 yards passing and a 60-6 touchdown interception ratio. I mean, just insane. So, projecting for our fun conversation tonight, I didn't give Arch that kind of stats, but still, I said, hey, they don't win the national title, but they lose maybe in the final four of the college football playoffs. He gets about 4,000 pass yards, 4,500 total yards, 38-8 TD interception ratio. So that's just where we're going to lay the framework tonight. Okay, does that seem realistic as far as moving the meter as far as where he might be sitting to consider, hey, draft or stay?
Yeah, I think all of that would be right on the line for sure. I like that.
All right, we won't stay on that long. And again, these Arch Manning numbers are a total projection for our fun conversation here tonight. Let's get into some real teams. Here's the first one. This is not, I don't think, too unrealistic, but I'll let you decide. We're going to give you the option here. All right, let's say the Carolina Panthers have a pretty bad season, bad enough where they just go ahead and get to collect the first overall pick. Okay. And let's say that Bryce Young looks bad enough that they're just ready to move on at quarterback. I don't know that that's going to happen, but let's say that it does. I'll give you the option. You can keep Canales as head coach if you want, which is very possible. You can bring in Brian Daboll as OC just to kind of allow Canales more time as head coach, and Daboll takes the OC burden. Or you can fire Canales and put Brian Daboll in straight in as head coach if you wish. You play that any way you want. He and Dan Morgan spent time together back in, I believe it was Buffalo, 2 seasons that they were on the same GM head coach staff together, so they know each other already. Dan Morgan and Brian Daboll do. But let's just talk about that for a second. You play out that scenario any way you want to. If you're advising Arch Manning, would this be a good spot for you?
This would be a no. This will be a no from me, Ben. The
Okay.
Panthers, still a very young team in the NFL, but in 29 seasons in the NFL, they've had 7 winning seasons.
Yeah.
Just not a just not a place I want to be. If I'm gonna, especially the Mannings are so good at this. The Mannings know with each passing generation like what their name means and what it carries. They know if Arch Manning is a top 3 pick, top 1 pick headed to the Carolina Panthers, Panthers fans are going to think that they're saved. The franchise is saved. And they already went through this with Cam Newton, and look how that went. So this one, coach, no coach, whoever, I've got a wild owner like we talked about with Woody Johnson, but I also just don't have any kind of sustained success in the history of the franchise. No, I'm going to skip on Carolina.
All right, fair enough. So again, just to repeat here, the existence of Canales and or Daboll just isn't enough to overcome the history, the current owner, and maybe just any questions you might still have about the GM Dan Morgan. Correct?
Yeah, and just and where the rest of the talent on the roster is to like first, not first and foremost, but it just there's no place of this that really feels secure, especially if we're saying this coaching staff and GM pairing, which we think is nice in theory, if it leads to the first overall pick. Talking about starting over with a new head coach with a volatile owner. No, I'm out.
That's interesting. You've already gone a direction I didn't expect by favoring the Jets situation over the Panther situation. So I like that. All right, get
I
it
think I'm
stirred
Aaron
up
Glenn
quick.
pilled. I think I'm Aaron Glenn pilled. So watch out for some preseason takes in August for me about the Jets and Aaron Glenn. Just fair, fair warning to everybody.
Fair enough. All right, let's move on because this is a realistic scenario here that the Panthers could end up, and maybe not even like a 2-win season. Maybe they get a 4 or 5 win season. It's still bad enough to be the first overall pick. But we're going to move on from Carolina. Team number 2. I got all 3 of the former Manning teams in here. I didn't get the 4th one because it just didn't work out. But I had to put the Saints on here. Okay, so obviously the Saints have a new coach in Kellen Moore and that new rookie quarterback in Tyler Shough. Okay, but just I had to talk about the Saints since Dad played there, right? Way back in the 70s. I had to talk about the Saints. And there is a very realistic scenario in which the Saints are bad this year, bad enough to either collect the number one overall pick or be in a position to trade up for it. All right, either scenario. And Kellen Moore's there. But let's say Tyler Shuck just doesn't look good enough to allow them to pass on Arch Manning. All right, that's the scenario here. Tell us how realistic that is if you want. But then let's go ahead and talk about if you're Arch, are you interested here in the Saints and Kellen Moore?
See, this one's a little bit more interesting because this is, for better or worse, a model of stability in terms of a franchise. This franchise does not shake very many things up very often. I feel like that's the first thing the Mannings are going to be looking for, just like the whole organizational stability. Um, we thought Gail Benson was going to sell this team, what, half a decade ago,
Yep.
and just from a lack of interest, and it's not happening. So ownership is staying intact. We know Mickey Loomis isn't going anywhere. Kellen Moore's going to get multiple chances to make this thing work, I think. A guy like Doug Nussmeier is the offensive coordinator. He's a guy that he's down there coaching at the Manning camp, Manning Passing Academy camp every single summer, right? So
Yeah.
there's such deep-rooted connections here. I think this is at least on the table. Now, if Kellen Moore really steps on it in the 2025 season, is Arch maybe gonna have something to say about that? Potentially. But I think this is on the table just from an organizational stability, a couple of people that are in the building, and yeah, being close to home, being close to where, Arch obviously spent a lot of time growing up. Certainly is a possibility.
Let's go ahead and play a little deal or no deal here, okay?
Mm,
Because what I'll let you do is if you take a deal now and you catch a better one later, you can take the better one later. Okay, that's not
okay.
a problem. Let's say the Saints are sitting not at number one, but say number two or three, but it's January 24th. They're already out of the playoffs. Arch is already out of the college football playoffs. And there's a little bit of kind of nodding and shaking, a little understanding that, hey, we're going to trade up to number one. We'll make this
hmm
happen.
hmm
Are you going to take this deal and go ahead and tell Arch to go ahead and declare for the draft with that in mind?
Ooh, at the end of the day, I mean, here's the anybody. My main concern with the Saints right now is the cap and the roster, right? Just like overall
Right,
cap, how they handle things. I don't think the
right.
Mannings care about that, so I'm putting that aside. You and I care about that. I
Okay,
don't think the Mannings give a crap about that.
right.
The overall talent on the roster, the Saints, it looks pretty rough. But who picking in the top three isn't going to seem pretty rough. And we just saw what the Titans did overhauling their roster for the first overall pick quarterback from a little more veteran wide receiver, draft a couple wide receivers in later in the draft, spend big money on the offensive line. We can turn this thing around quick. So I'm going to say yes. If the
Okay.
Saints are in play and they're saying we can get one, I would be in on the draft for Arch Manning.
All right, fair enough. So we think we might, and I'm sure somebody's telling us, hey, money's a factor. Well, yeah, it is. We're not going to talk about that tonight. He can make a lot of money in college. He can make a lot of money in the NFL. I know the family's got money, but that's not necessarily his money. He's already got his money in college, and he can also make his money if he gets drafted high. It's not like a second round
Yeah.
pick. If he gets drafted very high, he's making money either way. So that's not where we're going to take the conversation tonight. These scenarios get a little less realistic as we go on, but they also get a little bit more fun to talk about. Okay. So here we go. Number three. We're really
Ooh,
going to shake things up here, buddy.
who you
Okay. The New
got
York
here?
Giants. All right. Brian Dable
Mm,
has a horrible season, gets fired. Okay. We all know that that is very possible. Brian Flores finally, through a series of events, gets hired as head coach again to coach the Giants. And he pulls with him his old coaching friend from the Vikings, Grant Udinski. Now, Grant Udinski is currently OC for the Jaguars. And there's a rule in the NFL that you can't just swap coordinators unless both teams want that to happen,
hmm
unless you're getting a promotion. And the way that the Giants can do that is by offering Grant Udinski the assistant head coach slash OC spot, as well as giving him play calling duties, which he
Yes,
currently
that's
does
a big
not
one.
have in
Hmm.
Jacksonville. So those are the two things. That's how you get Udinski.
Yep.
So here's the scenario: Brian Flores, hardcore, coming at you, aggressive defensive mastermind, getting his second chance to coach now in New York with the Giants, Eli's old team, and bringing with him his Vikings cohort, Grant Udinski, as offensive coordinator. What are you feeling about this one?
I mean, I don't think Eli would have a bad thing to say about the Giants. Um, they made every attempt to build that roster up around him, which turned out to not obviously work out for them in the jumping off point. But I don't think they'd have any issues with ownership. Mara is showing a great deal of patience with the Shane and Dayball pairing. Is Joe
Yeah.
Shane still around, or is he getting fired too?
I'll give you the option on Shane, okay? You can decide.
The only thing I wonder is if the Mannings would be a little bit worried about Arch being an Eli's shadow. Now, where the Manning family sits from a what we care about and what we manipulate sort of deal, I'm not sure where that line is. Like what is the thing they would be worried about? We know
Right.
they will be savvy about this and think of the right thing for Arch. So I'm gonna say no. I'm actually gonna say no to this.
Okay.
Between okay, he's gonna be compared to Eli from get-go, right? He's going to be expected to win two Super Bowls because that's what Eli did, and if he doesn't do it, he's going to be a failure.
Yeah.
Um, okay, this is the first time we're going to see Flores back in the head coaching role after everything that came with his exit from his last head coaching job. You and I love Brian Flores and think he got the shaft for what happened in Miami.
Right.
But we're not going to disagree with the fact that he and Tua did not work out. Head coach to quarterback relationship was not good from the get-go with those two. So
No.
I'm not gonna count on that necessarily working out. Not to the point that he's the reason. We've been through this. We don't need to do this tonight. We're pro Brian Flores. But as the person deciding where my quarterback son, grandson, nephew is gonna go, maybe that's not the right fit considering everything else that I laid out. So I'm going to say no for the Giants.
All right. Fair enough. I tried to make this Giant scenario as interesting as possible, and I think
Sorry,
it did
Jess.
that.
Sorry, Jess.
Yeah. Sorry, Jess. It's our friend from the In the Flat podcast that we
Sorry,
mentioned
Mr. U.
before. Yeah. Sorry, Mr. U. We love you. So I tried to make this as interesting as possible, but it's just not enough, mainly considering the shadow they're cast in New York by Eli. Correct.
But we'll go over
All
the
right.
river to the Jets. I'm sticking on the Jets, Ben. Just get him on the Jets. Save football in New Jersey.
I really wasn't expecting that, okay? I really was not expecting you to be like, yes, the Jets is it, man.
I'm all in. I'm all in, baby.
Okay. All right. So far, the Giants are no, the Saints are a yes, and the Jets are a heck yes.
Just ruined your first graphic of the night too. It's perfect.
Yes, 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 you did. Couple of, that's all right. That's what we're here for. Here we go,
Mm.
baby. Oh yeah.
Mm.
If you listen to our podcast, and I know all of you do, the millions and millions of fans that we have out there, listen to every one of them. You know that Simon is a Steelers fan, but he's not going to let that influence him here tonight. Okay, go ahead, Simon. What you got, man?
Yes, that would be a yes. Let's make it happen. No,
Okay,
listen,
here's the
but
scenario. Let me play it out here just a little bit. The
yeah,
Steelers aren't going to suck. Okay, they're not
right.
going to be a 3-win team. That's just not going to happen. But let's say that they slow down to about 7 wins, and all of a sudden they kind of do a course reverse as an organization, and they're like, you know what? Arch really looked good this year. Maybe we're sitting at the ninth overall pick in the draft, and we just feel like it's time to quit fooling around at quarterback and let's get the guy, right? Not the Drew Aller hopeful stuff here at in state. We're gonna go get the guy. Yes, it's going to cost us, first round picks for 3 or 4 years, and that's going to hurt. But we've got a coach who knows how to get through those roster deficiencies if we just had a quarterback. Okay, so that's the scenario. I know we're pushing the limits a little bit here, but considering that, if they could pull that off, how do you feel about that if you're advising Arch and company?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is even more realistic than you're giving credit for.
Okay.
This is kind of like from the outsiders. What that'd be a good anti-podcast to the NFL Network insiders, the outsider. Anyways, write
Thank
that
you.
down. Uh, this is what the consensus thought process is. The Steelers are accumulating draft picks in the 2026 draft between trading George Pickens, comp picks out the wazoo.
Yeah.
Um, this could really happen. And whether it's from 9 to 1, 17 to 10 to 1, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
this is really
Yeah.
plausible. So this would be a yes. And again, viewers here, I won't say fans, viewers here are going to start to see where I'm coming from. And it's
Right.
the Manning appreciating stability, known commodities, and a good place to grow. Now, the thing you can say against the Steelers, let me not be a homer here, is they haven't shown the ability to develop a quarterback at all,
Yeah.
right? Mason
Yeah.
Rudolph was in the building for years and years and years, and is just a backup. Kenny Pickett, obviously, a year and a half of playing before they shipped him off. Now, I would argue that they've never drafted a top five quarterback since, getting Ben Roethlisberger all those years ago. So I think it's a different beast that we're talking about here. You got
Yes.
Tomlin, you got Rooney. Khan just got a contract extension. They've drafted well over the last couple of years under Omar Khan. TJ Watt just got his extension. Cam Hayward has stuck around as a stalwart of the NFL through all these years. The offensive line is young and getting better. I'm gonna say yes for Pittsburgh.
I want to put you on the spot a little bit here and ask you about your preference at coordinator, offensive coordinator, if you're
Mhm.
Arch and company. Because obviously, man, if the Steelers do kind of have a bad season and they are willing to all of a sudden trade all the way up to really make this happen, Tomlin's a yes. The organization is a yes. There's enough talent on the roster. That's all a yes. But that coordinator and QB development thing, that's the maybe the one holdup. So if you could pull anybody in here through your Manning influence,
Ooh.
who would it be? Would you still keep Arthur Smith? Would you go somewhere else?
You would probably, if you could really do this, yeah, you would probably go somewhere else. Can you get Sarkisian to come? You pull
As a
him out of
thought,
Texas?
as a thought.
I know nothing about college coaching landscape.
Yeah.
Would he leave to a chat? Would he try to come back to the NFL? Would he attach himself to Arch for a couple of years? Try to succeed in Pittsburgh, maybe win a Super Bowl and get a head coaching job in the NFL. I don't know. I don't know if that's his deal. But
Yeah.
just thinking about who they would trust. I mean, Arthur Smith, I think, is a like from a quarterback standpoint low ceiling, high floor. Like he wants to run the ball, he wants to play action, he wants wide zone blocking scheme. Like you know what you're getting, and I think that would be good for Arch, at least at the beginning. When you want to let loose the reins a little bit, and once he develops, you might want something else, a graduate level course, if you will. But I think at the beginning, I think Arthur Smith's fine.
Fair enough. And so I assume you're taking the Steelers deal over the Saints deal, right? And that's
Yeah, yeah. Let's
okay.
just just as a toss up, just for fun, completely objectively. Let's go for it.
The Jets are still in the mix because you're
Yeah,
talking
Jets. Yeah,
stability, and who doesn't think the Jets when you mention the word stability, right?
It's the first thing we think of. The first thing then.
All right, it's either the Steelers or the Jets so far. We're on fire here. I got three more teams. Okay, um, getting a little less realistic, but still stuff worth talking about. It's a lot of fun here. Let's go do it. Here we go, baby.
Oh my God. I just recognized the
Yeah,
face.
baby. Here we go. All right. So the Indianapolis Colts got a lot
Uh,
of problems. I'll let you decide what you want to do with general manager. Okay. I'm not going
okay.
to weigh in on that. But let's say that the current head coach is out the door. Shane Steichen, it's not that he doesn't know offense, but his head coach, it just didn't work out. They boy, they put their banner on AR-15 and that didn't work out, assuming, after 25, right? Let's assume it just still didn't work out. I'm firing a guy in San Francisco who's got a lot of success over there, but there have been little whispers about that for the past year or so that maybe not everything in San Fran is as rosy as everybody would like it to be, the success notwithstanding. So, playing with reality here, it's not unrealistic that the Colts have a bad year and they're in a position to get Arch Manning in the draft. Where we're starting to push reality is that Kyle Shanahan actually gets fired from the 49ers. That's a big one. But the very second he gets fired, he's going to get hired again somewhere else. In this scenario, he gets hired as coach of the Indianapolis Colts. Now, it does bring up the difficulty of now playing in Peyton Manning's shadow, which, of course, is a big deal. But I've got Kyle Shanahan here, man. And we already know, too, that Peyton Manning loves Kyle Shanahan.
Hmm.
There's a connection there just from them being around all these years in so many different NFL circles. He really likes Kyle Shanahan. So that's a factor too. Talk me through it here, and ultimately, what would you do with this scenario?
Yeah, I don't know how you can't do this. I don't know how you couldn't do this. Shanahan is, uh, yeah, I can't even describe what this would be. Here's the difference, because I want to be careful of of contradicting myself, right?
Okay.
So Eli and the New York Shadow for Arch versus
Yes.
Peyton and the Colts Shadow. Peyton won one Super Bowl in Indianapolis. Eli wins
Yes.
two in New York, so there's one thing.
Yes.
More importantly, New York media versus Indianapolis media.
Yeah.
The if he goes to New York, and even though Eli is a astronomically worse quarterback than Peyton was,
Mm-hmm.
every week, New York radio, talk shows, tabloids, papers, everything is going to be, what would Eli have done? Eli didn't do this, or Eli did do this for some of the negative moments. It's
Right.
not going to be that way in Indianapolis, right? So it's just a different media market that you're talking about. So that's why I don't see the shadow as, and Peyton was there. It's been more time removed since Peyton was there to Eli. Um, but I think the idea of going to a Shanahan, and yeah, I don't have a GM in mind. Maybe Shanahan just brings a guy over um, from San Francisco, but whoever it wouldn't be Ballard though. I'd be done with that. I'd want somebody else
Okay.
in, and I would let Shanahan pick him. That would be the thing. Hey, Shanahan, I want you, because even he and John Lynch haven't always been on the same page. So
Right.
like Shanahan, just like
Right.
bring a guy with the experience that you deem correct, and like we know what this stuff is, your experience, family name, all of that. We know you could pick a good one. You pick a guy you're going to be aligned with, and let's get Arch rolling. So yes, this is a big yes for me.
All right. Fair enough.
And
And,
I
and
don't
like you
think this
said,
is too far off, because what if are they going to
not.
have a winning record this year? Are they going to have a winning record? I don't think so. I
Yeah.
don't know right now.
I I kind of doubt it. Listen, I'm a Shanahan guy all the way. I would never let go of Shanahan. But we've even talked about it with Tomlin in Pittsburgh. And of course, it actually happened with Andy Reid in
Right?
Philadelphia.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's just time for both parties to move on,
Yeah.
even though, both parties are actually good, you
Yeah.
know? So it can happen. We're pushing it a little bit here, but the Colts thing is very realistic here. So again, we're taking the Colts deal over the Steelers deal, I assume, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
this is going to be number one. This is in pole position.
I don't think that's going to change, but I've got a couple more I just had to throw out
I don't
there.
know
They're too
now, man.
tasty.
I don't know
Yeah.
now.
They're too
Bill
tasty
Belichick coming
not
out of
to.
retirement. What's happening?
It did cross my mind, but no, I didn't do that. Okay, here we go. You'll know where I'm going with this next one once you see it. Minnesota
Mm,
Vikings. Okay.
hmm.
Uh, let's say, and listen, I'm not going to hide it. I wasn't a huge JJ McCarthy guy.
Hmm.
Now, having said that, once a guy gets drafted, from then on it changes. It's what can we do to support this player? Whether everybody in the building agreed with it or not, you're 100% in. Everybody's jobs rely on it. Let's support this player. So maybe McCarthy hits big, and this is never an option. Okay, Maybe the Vikings go back to double-digit wins. McCarthy looks good. Forget about it. That's it. But maybe also, because I think the Vikings still have a small question based on the Aaron Rodgers rumors that persisted
Yep.
all spring long. They would not go away. Let's say McCarthy just doesn't do it this year. He gets on the field, it just doesn't happen, and the Vikings are like, Arch Manning's over here. And listen, there's no way the Vikings are going to be down at 3 or 4 wins, but let's say that they're down at 8 wins maybe. And they are willing to give up a lot of draft picks over the next 2 to 3 years because they've already got a good roster, right? They've already got a bunch of
Yep.
pieces in place here to work with, especially on offense. So it's not necessarily like they'd have to have all of those draft picks in order to compete, especially if they've got an answer at quarterback. And playing with Kevin O'Connell here, who's one of the better offensive minds in the game, getting to throw to Justin Jefferson and the rest of those receiving options, that's what I'm putting on the table. It would take a lot, obviously, to get that far up in the draft to make this happen. But let's say it does. What you feeling here about this deal and then comparing it back to the Colts deal?
I like this. I like this. This would
Okay.
be ahead of the Steelers for me. This would be ahead of the Jets for me.
Okay.
Um, I would have to wonder if I'm the Manning family, though. Hey, you took JJ McCarthy in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
You swapped what was it, a fourth round pick to swap spots there, 13, 12 or whatever it was to go get him. You also, by the way, traded a couple picks to go get Dallas Turner. What was he in 2025? But what went
Yes.
wrong? Why didn't it work with JJ? Was it just the injury thing? And you're like, man, you know what? This tanked our
Right.
season, and now we just think we could get another guy. Well, and like, hey, Arch, between you and me, man, like, as let's say I'm Quezzy or something, we just don't think JJ's knee is ever gonna hold up, right? Like
Right.
if you tell me that's the scenario, I'm like, okay, like I'm more. But if it was like, just wasn't what we thought he was, I'd say, well, why not? Well, what was wrong? Was the evaluation wrong? Was the coaching wrong? Was the
Yeah.
environment wrong? What what happened? So that's what I would be concerned about. That would be that little shadow of a doubt. You just drafted a guy. Why can't you make it happen? Why don't you want to stick it out? Oh, so if Arch hurts his knee, you're gonna look for another quarterback in 2 years? What's going on? And just for Minnesota, as this defense, ages out pretty soon, or Flores gets a head coaching job, you have to turn that over. We haven't seen them have to kind of rebuild something, right? Kevin O'Connell, like, kind of didn't walk into a good situation, but this is the era of the team he's been in. Shanahan, we've seen him go through iterations. We've seen him go through the Jimmy
Yeah.
G era. We've seen him go through this Brock Purdy era. We've seen him go through the Robert Saleh defense to the D'Amico Ryans defense. We've seen these changes, offensive coordinator changing every year. So I just know, like, hey, whatever stuff changes around Shanahan, he's still gonna be Shanahan. So for that, I'm gonna lean Colts still as number one, but Minnesota is a good situation too. That would be number two for me.
Yeah. I feel like this might be the most unrealistic one I've trotted out here so far, but it still felt like a lot of fun to just put in here, all things considered. Okay, so Colt situation still the leader in the clubhouse. I've got one more team. This will be the last team of the evening. I'll get to it in just a second. It is not the Denver Broncos, which was, again, Peyton's second old team. I wanted to put them in there, but I just realistically couldn't figure out a way that Bo Nix would be so horrible all of a sudden that Sean Payton would just be ready to move off of him, and also that the Broncos would just be so bad that they could move on up and do it. So I didn't do that tonight. I didn't get that wonky with it. Okay. But I got one more team here that I just thought was a lot of fun. And you'll laugh once I play it out, but it's not a stretch that this could happen. I just think
Getting
it's kind
nervous.
of it's just a lot of fun. Do you want to predict what the final team is?
Yeah. Is it the Eagles?
No.
Okay.
To be honest, I checked them off fairly quickly as I went through the teams,
Is
but
it the
that's
Lions?
interesting. No, I didn't do the
Okay.
Lions
I got no
either.
idea. I got no idea.
Okay. Hey, and listen, any team is fun to talk about. This is the one that was more fun for me. Okay, so here we go. Suspense is over. Los Angeles Rams. Okay,
Oh yeah, that I should have.
Sean McVay.
Bad job
All
by
right.
me. Good job by you.
Here's there's two different ways this could happen. Right. Number one is Stafford just gets maybe hurt or old early in the year. Right. and it brings the whole season down. And they're just legit kind of not good because they don't have anything at quarterback, right? So they're like, 5-win season, and they trade up the number one, boom,
Yep.
done, right?
Hmm.
The other the other thing, which is far more amusing and fun for me as a NFL fan, is Stafford's actually fine. They finish at, I don't know, 9 or 10 wins, but Stafford retires at the end of the season, and the Rams, who are sitting at, I don't know, pick 17, decide to F those picks again and get rid of the
Yep.
next 5 years worth of first round draft picks, okay?
Yep. Hmm.
To trade up for Arch Manning and put Sean McVay with Arch Manning, and the fun is on, right, in Los Angeles. Okay, so you go either direction you want to there, but what do you feel about McVay, the Rams, and Arch?
Yeah, it doesn't matter what the scenario is. If the Mannings can get Arch to the Rams, you do it.
Okay,
That's the stone cold lock. I was trying to get crazy with this last one, Ben. I thought you were really going to throw us a curveball.
yeah, not
Everything I
that
said
bad,
about
no.
everything I said about Shanahan applies to McVay. Like
Yeah,
genius play caller. I would argue from a completely outside standpoint, so I can't really make any real argument, but I could give me an hour, I could think of a BS one for you. I would argue just a better like culture, team,
yeah,
true coach, nitty gritty, right?
yeah,
Um, Obviously, like the long bloodlines of family in the NFL, won a Super Bowl. Like he's been over that hump that Shanahan has it, and again, not in the Peyton Manning shadow, and not in a new situation, right? McVay and Les Snead, the who's the ownership? Is the Kroenke family? Am I thinking about something else?
yes, yeah, that's right.
Um, that's right, because they got the Nuggets too. Anyways, whatever.
I do. I
Um,
got several.
you got a lot of money, right? Which is always great. So contract time comes around and you can be ready. Um, yeah, McVay's need the Rams, a situation that you put together for a veteran quarterback that can win a Super Bowl, and then you plop Arch Manning right in there right after that. I think this is great. This is number one.
You made an interesting point here because I love Shanahan and I love McVay, and they're like two of the top four coaches in the NFL for me. I mean, they are cream of the crop. But while I do think Shanahan probably has the XO edge, I think he's just a mastermind at all that. Culture wise, it's not even close. McVay is just like this bundle of bursting energy nonstop that just like charges everything around him. Shanahan sometimes feels, I don't know, tired, old, or boring, like he's exhausted even though he's
The
working his
the
butt off.
burden of his genius is just weighing him down
Yes,
constantly.
it
Like
is.
like McVay getting Arch Manning. Can you imagine, when we get the video of the draft call, how pumped up he might run through a freaking wall if they're gonna get Arch Manning. So let's play out the scenario where they trade up. Like the moment they lock down the trade and Snead hangs up the phone and McVay would just like smash his fist through the table and run with it around his forearm right through the door like the Kool-Aid man. And that's what I want. Shanahan would just be like, okay. And he would immediately catastrophize all the ways A, it could go wrong, and B,
Yes,
he could get blamed if it doesn't work.
right.
And then he would just go to the whiteboard and like beautiful mind it like a billion plays in a row. And like, I just don't want that. I don't want that. I want it to be fun for Arch. So let's go to the Rams.
Yeah, it
Let's
doesn't
fix
get
the
any more
jerseys,
fun.
but let's get Arch in a Rams jersey.
Fix those jerseys. It doesn't get any more fun than McVay. Yeah, the bright lights from wherever the draft is going to be next year, and then from
Pittsburgh.
Los Angeles. Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry. With McVay and the Mannings floating around. Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
All right. Well,
The Steelers with the
it
second
has
overall
been.
pick take Drew Aller.
Hey, you never know.
There's been some Aller. We'll get into this in a couple of weeks. We'll talk quarterbacks. We won't do it now.
Absolutely. All right. I've got a cluttered board here, but just a reminder here. Y'all can enjoy the toolbars or whatever. This is the Box Score Network. We have a lot of. This was a fun show. Okay. Some of this is realistic, real people, real scenarios, but this we just wanted to have fun with this for the night. I'll let Simon get a final word on it here in just a minute, but we do have a lot of other shows, man. We got this is all on Apple and Spotify, college football here within the flat. Odds on Favorite, where we talk a lot of general NFL stuff plus more unusual segments we put in. We got the soccer team up here, largely baseball here with Tricky Takes, but they do other things. The two brothers here, Two Peas in a Pod, talk NFL mostly, but also NBA. And then Simon and Friends, which does everything from NFL draft to actual NFL all season long to movies during the summer to power rankings once a month from a lot of different viewpoints. So we have it all going on here. Check all that out here in just a minute when you get done with our show. But Simon, man, tell us, all things considered, you can go any direction with it, but Arch Manning 2026, draft or not, how you feeling about it?
I'm trying to temper my expectations now, Ben.
Okay.
It really, from everything people are saying, it really just feels like no one's thinking it's gonna happen. I think in the statistical environment, statistical example that you laid out, it wouldn't happen. Like, hey, yeah, pretty good year, maybe like Heisman finalist, but maybe doesn't win it. I think it would have to be like a 5,000 yard, 40 touchdown, like just somewhere it's like this guy is just like
Yeah.
it's a lock. Like we can't even discuss this anymore. And the situation would have to be perfect. And the Rams have the first overall pick. Um, I'm trying to not get my hopes up. You and I, another quick plug in, I don't know, what is it? End of July in about a month. Over on that
Yes.
Simon and Friends podcast, we'll start our 2026 draft coverage over there. You come on once a month to do that. We'll talk quarterbacks together in depth for the first time.
Yeah.
So we'll measure up where all the quarterbacks are and where Arch kind of falls and all of that. But I have a feeling he's going to have a good season, but not that astronomical year where it's just like he has no choice. He has to come out. I don't think that's going to happen.
I'm I hear you. And by the way, who's the guy that I listen to all the draft people, everybody from Kuiper to Feldman to McShay. I listen to all of them, and me and you do our own work as well. McShay is the one who inspired this show because he was talking a few weeks ago about how he really didn't think that Arch would come out, and so it inspired me. Hey, what would pull him out?
Hmm.
Because my thinking is this: in 26 you have options, in 27 it's a lot more difficult to tell yourself to go back to college. But what if the people sitting at the top of the 27 draft aren't good situations?
Right? Hmm.
But whoever's sitting, I tell you, sitting there on January 24th when he's got to make a decision, I really would want to know who's actually got that number one pick. Because it's all
Yep.
nice to say we're in the 17 spot, we're going to trade up to get you, or we're in the 3 spot, we're going to trade up to get you. But I don't know that that's going to happen. You know, if the team sitting there at number one is a team I want to go to, now I'm a lot more interested than if, hey, maybe they'll trade up to get me, but again, I
Right.
might be stuck because I've already declared. That's going to be the thing. But that's what inspired this tonight. Was hey, what situations might pull him out for the 26th draft? And those are some of the fun ones. All right, Simon. Anything else before we shut it down, man?
No, appreciate it. Appreciate everybody listening and watching. Check out the other videos on the channel. We got stuff going up every week, so we appreciate you being here.
Yeah, we do. We got all kinds of things going on. But again, as we get closer to the NFL season, it'll really lock into all NFL. All right. Thank you, everybody. This is the Box Score Network. I'm Ben Parker. That's Simon Short. Have a great one. Goodbye.